now being filmed. So anything that you say or anything that you write is going to be on the video. And as well, the video is going to be available after through the link, but I can only keep 1 or 2 videos there at a time. So if you want to keep the meeting, just download it. And I'm also going to be uploading it to the council SharePoint as well. So that being said, the next, Chris or James, was that stuff for before the meeting?
No, it's for the point.
Oh, okay, sure. Chris?
Yeah, so I could speak on the first topic.
Oh, sorry, I just need Desiree to read the motion. Desiree, this one is your point, so I'll keep you guys on the speakers list. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a question actually for you, Chair Caitlin. If I want to add another be it resolved that, should I just say it out loud?
Yeah, you can say it out loud.
I just want to
write it in the chat so that the minute keeper has access to it and everyone can read it as well. Okay,
cool. I'll take care of writing it in the chat after I say it out loud and after I do my motivation too.
Okay, perfect.
So 2 seconds. I just have to organize my stuff on my computer. Won't be long.
Not a problem.
Okay. So whereas currently secret ballots can be enacted by any council member as soon as they ask, whereas no secret ballot policy can be found, whereas Robert Rules outlines the use of secret ballot is habitually used in connection with elections and trials and sometimes for the selection of the next place for the meeting of a convention, whereas Robert Rules requires a simple majority for all motions to pass, be resolved that a secret ballot request needs a simple majority to be enacted, be resolved that simple ballot is automatic for any appointments of a chairperson, minute keeper, or council member to a committee. And be it further resolved that budgetary impact is null.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second for the motion?
Second.
Second.
Oh, Shivani, second. And your motivation, Desiree?
Essentially, before jumping quickly into motivation, I just want to outline a few things. I don't want secret ballot to never be able to happen again. I just want to make sure that, like any other motion presented to council, there is a due process so that, because currently any individual councillor can request secret ballot and it is automatically enacted without having any type of motivation or explanation as to why they think secret ballot is necessary for this vote. What I'm asking is that, like anything that is brought to council, secret ballot needs a motivation and then councillors vote on it. And the main reason why I bring it forward is I think a lot of councillors ran on platforms based on values of transparency and accountability. Currently, I feel there's a lot of situations where councillors use secret ballot to hide the reasons why they vote for a specific way. And if they feel that they can't tell their peers, fellow council members, or they can't tell students why they voted a specific way, they're not being transparent and they don't want to be held accountable for their votes. If you are afraid of what you are voting for, it may mean that you're not voting for the right thing, because if you believe in what you're voting for, you shouldn't feel any type of shame or any type of way showing it to all students. And if you really think that the motion on hand deserves a secret ballot, councillors should be able to explain to the virtual room, why a secret ballot is necessary. And I often hear how general student population is disheartened by the CSU and they just think we're a bunch of, student politicians and we're corrupt and we love drama. I just think you have to focus. You have to think of what is the image we're giving to the student population if we are constantly using secret ballot to hide what the conversations are being had. So yeah, I think this motion would really help rebuild the trust between the student body and council.
Oh, I think you froze there, Desiree.
Transparency.
Oh, sorry. I think you froze for a couple seconds there.
Okay, I was kind of finishing, but essentially I just want to say that I think bringing this motion forward would help establish the transparency, accountability that a lot of counselors I know for a fact want to have in the union, and also help bridge, help build confidence between the council and the student body. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think Desiree's got a good point. You know, it could be a bit, you know, like I like the secret ballot thing. I like the way it works right now, but I do think it could probably be perfected. And I do think it might be hard to come to a resolution today, because I know there's a lot of competing interests. So yeah, just putting that out there. That's all.
Thank you. James, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing I'd like to put, while it's an interesting initiative to say that, okay, well, you have to vote for the room and say 50% for secret ballot, I think that's incredibly short-sighted, especially considering some of the things that have happened very recently with council, and some very reasonable fears that people are not, like, this isn't about holding people to account, it's about preventing people from receiving loads and loads of harassment because of the way they didn't even vote. One of the reasons that, you know, what I bring up is there was an incident earlier this mandate where a group of, let's just call them vigilantes, decided to slander a group of councillors based on a presumed vote on an issue. And this isn't something about being held to account. This is something about these people going out of their way to post things like, I hope these people never get hired again, based on effectively lies. And this list of people was approved by a member of the executive and a few councillors. And when this is the case, when people are effectively lying about people, and they don't care how they vote, even if it's out in the open, then, you know, and what results from that is a trove of anti-Semitic harassment against the CSU itself, asking why the CSU isn't changing its flag to the swastika. I think that there is ample reason for people to be requesting secret ballots, and especially when there are people on council right now that have approved of this type of harassment against other councillors, that they shouldn't need to justify themselves before the entirety of the committee.
Great, thank you. Matthew K.
What James said.
All right, thank you. Isaiah.
Well, I'm going to speak in favor of the motion because although at the end of the day, everybody who ran in this room sits on a member as a council is an elected official, right? And so I'm like, as executives, we're held accountable for what we do because we're operational. We need to do. We don't get to vote at council. We need to do stuff. We need to operate. We need to go and do our jobs. As councilors, you're elected to vote and represent the student body, no matter. And so, unfortunately, some people may not think about what they say before they say it or how they say it, or think about the whole picture at hand and how things look, because that's a whole nother issue and slew of whatnot, but you're accountable for how you vote. So if you're going to hide your vote because you, for whatever reason, like, you're not being accountable to the student body, the people who elected you, and you go against, like, you're supposed to tell them what you're doing, how you're doing it. The same way that executives can't just go and secret ballot their way out of actions and go and do stuff and be like, well, oh, I'm going to go and do this without telling council. I'm going to go do this and go do that. Like, council, you can't just go and be like, well, every time I feel like it, what at least one person, because nobody's saying that we don't want secret ballots. We're asking council to just decide if a secret ballot is appropriate for the discussion. Because if somebody really wanted to, they could go and call a secret ballot because we wanted, I don't know, like, just the simplest things. So if a secret ballot is necessary and you voice your concerns of being why you think you need a secret ballot, why it should be there, then it will be granted. Your peers are going to hear you out. If it's appropriate, it will be approved. But right now, to allow just one person who wants to be like, oh, I want anonymity from a decision that they are supposed to be held accountable for, it doesn't make sense.
Great, thank you. Hirsch, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by elaborating on what James mentioned. We're not talking about like idle, oh, this person's evil, they voted against me. We're talking actual like hate mail, targeted harassment, threats. And Isaiah, or the general coordinator, is aware that a member of his team
Points
has
of
openly
personal
stated
privilege.
Sorry, I don't know what we're talking about. What's
a member of the executive team has admitted to engaging in such behaviors and has stated she intends on doing this again. This is not about
Point of personal
hiding your vote.
privilege.
This is about safety.
Caitlin, like, one, he called me by name. Two, he's speaking on people who are not he's speaking on people
Yeah,
like,
Hirsch,
in their
I'm not
actions. Like,
sure what that situation is, but I don't think it's relevant to this discussion, what coordinators are doing, but Hirsch did change the way that he addressed you.
Okay, if I may explain what's relevant.
Sorry?
If I might explain why this is relevant. See, a point was made earlier about escaping transparency. This isn't about, see, I'm all for transparency. I'm all for maximum accountability until it reaches a point where a member of council is receiving threats and hate mail because a executive didn't like the way he voted and therefore, you know, decided to reach out through some friends and incite people against him.
point of personal privilege, assuming action, assuming that executives are going out of their way and
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what this
general
situation is first. Sorry, I don't know what this situation is. I don't know if what you're saying is true or not, but it's not for this discussion.
Well, there is a point about in cases where people feel in danger, they should be able to ask a friend to call secret ballot in order to ensure that, you know, that if they're worried about being bullied over a decision, they can protect themselves. Now, there's a second point to be made about the fact that sometimes you want people to vote against what their friends want them to vote. You want them to be able to vote their conscience rather than based off of peer pressure. We saw this last time where something which, you know, based off of the members of the room shouldn't, well, it had a high chance of failing. It passed anyway. Why? Because in secret ballot, you vote your conscience rather than what your friends want you to. And if you have to get up and justify that, I mean, like, it defeats the whole purpose when you get up and go, I'm calling a secret ballot because I feel I want to eliminate peer pressure so that, you know, these two people vote on their own instead of based off of what their friends want them to. It makes no sense. You're defeating your whole purpose.
Great, thank you. Danielle?
Yes, just out of curiosity, can I call the question?
Yeah, do we have a second for calling the question?
Second.
Second by Sean. Is there any opposition? Oh, sorry, by Matthew. Is there any opposition to calling the question?
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, we'll move to vote. So I'll just, if you're voting yes, it means you want to call the question. If you're voting no, it means you don't want to and you want to keep discussing. And if you're abstaining, it means you're abstaining. So I'll go down the list. Diana, what is your vote? Diana?
Caitlin?
Yes?
I'll abstain.
No,
sorry, I think my computer froze. Okay.
Sorry, there's a couple people talking right now. Okay, so I'll just keep going with the votes. Harrison?
Yes.
Yes. Matthew K?
Yes.
Yes. Danielle?
Yes.
Yes. Chelsea is not here. Howard?
Yes.
Yes. Jeremiah, what's your vote?
I think we should discuss the possibility. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I'll just vote no. I'll vote yes. Sorry, I'll vote yes. My next shut up. Then I'll leave.
Lauren? Not here. Arye?
No, I'm here.
You are here. What's your vote?
So yes to continue the discussion.
Okay, so that would be no to calling the question. Arye?
Okay, yes.
Yes. Sarah?
No.
No. Margot?
No.
No. Shivani?
No.
No. Amma?
No to calling the question.
No. Yasmin's not here. Chris K?
Yes to call the question.
Yes. Chris D?
Yes.
Yes. Matthew B?
Yes to call the question.
Yes. Sean?
Sorry, yes.
Okay. Paige?
No.
No. Anais?
As there are 8 people that are still on the speaker list, I feel like this isn't resolved, and I will say no.
Okay. Thank you. James? James? Okay. Desiree?
No.
No. Hirsch?
Yes.
Yes. And Natalia? It's not here, I don't think. Okay. So the vote count is 11 yes, 5, 6, 7, 8 no, and 0 abstention. So it does not get the requisite 2/3. So we'll keep going with the discussion. We started at 8:08, so it should be done in 6 minutes anyway. So I'll just go continue with the speakers list. Desiree, go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool. Essentially, first of all, I hear a lot of issues about counselor-executive relationships. That's not why I brought forward the motion. I brought it forward for the students, because again, we have to be held accountable to the students. And if ever, I heard again about one specific event that happened about a month ago or 2, I forget, about vigilante, harassing fellow counselors. For one, harassment, I think we all condemn it. It's never appropriate. It's never good. And how outsiders, how specific people are going to react to a situation should not be why we vote this motion down. I want to focus again how I want the individual who brings forward the request of having secret ballot just be able to explain why, even if it's a simple sentence saying I don't want people to vote for their friends or anything, just be able to explain why they think it's important to have it, because currently it's just not transparent. Currently there's no way to know why you even want secret ballot. I still want secret ballot to be accessible to the council. And if ever you really think your safety is in danger, call secret ballot and then say exactly that. I think my safety will be not guaranteed if we just do an open ballot, and then people can hear you out and we can discuss it. And yeah, I just think that's pretty much it. Thanks.
Thank you. Emma.
Yes, thank you. I would vote for the motion because I think that the process needs some form of voting in order to decide. I was actually going to say the same that Desiree pointed out. If someone thinks that their safety isn't, is in danger, then I think that, as counselors, we will consider that in the way we're going to vote for this if it passes. The other point is that, we're not necessarily voting because we're in council as friends. Necessarily, we have been elected by students, so our decisions are judged based on a fair assessment of the problem. And I think that if a problem is presented at council and there is no form of, there is no willingness to present your reasoning on why you're making such a decision, then I don't think, I don't see why someone should hold an elected position in that way. We've been elected to make decisions rationally, and if something is going to secret ballot, it has to be presented, it has to be demonstrated, and then we will go through a democratic process. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Isaiah?
Yeah. So just to be quick, as was said before, if you're counselors, you're elected here to vote how you vote, not because if you can't distinguish yourself from your friends, what are you even doing here? And another note in the sense of the talks about executive and council relationship, I would like to remind some people that nobody's perfect here. I've been referenced and called basically a criminal by one of the counselors that's the thing where I'm like, people are not thinking about what they're saying. They're not thinking about how they're saying it. So I'm like, if you're getting mad because people are seeing what you're saying and doing and getting mad, think about yourselves as well and what you're doing, how you're saying it, how you're communicating it in the time of action to avoid people repeating the type of thing, and stop blaming other people for your lack of considerations and thinking about other people and how they feel. That's it.
Margot?
Hi. I think a lot of the fear and stress about this motion comes from something that happened about a motion that actually happened in closed session. I think transparency and clarity really helps in these situations, and I feel for people who are like reeling if they have like received bullying. But I've like also gotten death threats from my time on council, but harassment is like against the code of conduct for the university. It's also illegal, so you can follow those processes. We can firm up our policies at the CSU around that, absolutely, but I don't think we should hold information and our votes and just information about who we are as counselors hostage because of fear. I think the student body has a right to know who's representing them, how they're representing them, and I think I think that's really needs to be the most important thing, and we need to put our individual fears aside for now and understand that we can take this point by point as we like understand the pros and cons of secret ballot, but we do need to make sure we are accountable to our student body and being fully transparent, because lack of transparency breeds a fear of nepotism and of corruption and of all these things the CSU has come to be known for, and we need to actually do things to work against that, and this is the first step, and we can work on the other stuff as well.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point we're at 5:28, so we've spent 20 minutes discussing the point. I feel like everyone's kind of made up their mind on how they're going to vote. Is there any appetite to keep talking about it? Okay, so if not, then we will move to a vote. So if you're voting yes to the motion, it means you agree with the motion as read out by Desiree, and you can find it in the chat. If you're voting no, it means you do not agree with it. And if you're abstaining, it means you are abstaining. So I'll go through the list. Diana.
I vote yes for the motion.
Thank you. Harrison.
I vote yes for the motion.
Thank you. Danielle.
No.
Thank you. Matthew K.
No.
Thank you. Chelsea is not here. Howard.
I vote no to the motion.
Thank you. Lauren.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Jeremiah.
I'll pass.
Okay. Arye.
This motion supports harassment, so I vote no.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yes.
Yes. Margot.
Yes.
Yes. Shivani.
Yes.
Yes. Amma.
Yes.
Yes. Yasmin or Marlena are not here. Chris K.
No.
No. Chris D.
No.
No. Matthew B.
No.
No. Sean.
No.
No. Paige.
Yes.
Yes. Anais.
Yes.
Yes. James. James.
No.
Oh no. Okay. Desiree.
Yes.
Yes. Hirsch.
No.
No. And Natalia. Not here. Jeremiah. Sorry. What's your vote?
I'll vote no.
No. Okay. So the vote count is 10 yes, 11 no, and 0 abstention. So the motion fails. So with that, if there's nothing else on the secret ballot motion, we can move on to presentation and recommendations of FinCom. And Holly, this one is yours.
Is there a way, am I able to just share my screen?
Yep, the screen share button on the bottom.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Sorry, I have to change something in the settings. How about if I share my screen with your presentation? Does that work?
Sure.
Just so that I don't have to go and fiddle around with the settings for 20 minutes.
This motion supports harassment, so I vote no.
Okay. There we go. All good?
Yeah. So essentially today I'm here to present the budget for this year. I'll start with the agenda. Essentially, I'll start with the FinCom's recommendation. I'll be discussing the operational budget, the CSU services and clubs, and finally the consolidated budget of the COVID-19 budget. So we can start with Finance Committee's recommendation, and essentially I'll be reading out the motion that they had. Whereas the finance coordinator properly adjusted for the COVID-19 situation by identifying non-priority items and have streamlined the budget accordingly. Whereas the COVID-19 has affected our membership, the students, our economy, and society as a whole. Whereas the CSU should be a leader during the COVID-19 crisis by helping our students by decreasing the fee levy for all students without affecting clubs and services. Whereas this recommendation makes sure that no employee, staff, or executive are affected by these changes. Be it resolved, Finance Committee formally recommend that the CSU budget for 2020-2021 be as follows. The Finance Committee recommends that the negative scenario of the current proposed budget of operations be the official budget for the operations portion. The Finance Committee recommends that the rest of the budget stay the same. And be it further resolved that the Finance Committee recommend Council to change the fee levies for the CSU in the following ways. The operations fee decreased by 20% in accordance with the new budget. So essentially over here, be it further resolved that we speak to the service managers about increasing or decreasing their specific fee levies, which could be. And essentially on the side, HOJA, they recommended an increase of 1 cent, advocacy and LIC by 1 cent as well. CSU clubs can be increased by 2 cents and the daycare by 1 cent. And on the PowerPoint, I highlighted in red Finance Committee's recommendation. And in the dark green on the left side would essentially be what I suggested.
We're losing you a bit.
Sorry?
We're losing you a bit, or I think, unless it was just my computer.
Okay, so I'll just reiterate. Essentially on the right side in red is Finance Committee's recommendation of the fee levy, and in dark green is essentially what I presented to Council originally in June, I believe. So I'll start by discussing of CSU's operational budget. Essentially, the budget lines that are part of the operational budget is everything that is in gray. So the IT expenses, banking, insurance fees, employee benefits, financial and legal fees, executive student engagement, other student engagements, administrative expenses, and council and electoral expenses. And essentially what I did to budget for the COVID operational budget, which is a 20% decrease, is I decided to prioritize budget lines in the CSU's operations. And essentially the way that I decided the priority items is if they directly impacted the CSU's operations. Everything that is in blue are the 5 budget lines that I believed were priority items. And essentially what I did is I calculated the sum of all of the priority items to the total expenses of the operational budget, which accounted for 77% of the COVID operational budget. So for the regular operational budget, there's a breakdown here of everything for everyone, and essentially the key insight that I would like to present to you here is that priority items in the regular scenario budget accounts for 67%. Therefore, 11% had to be cut to ensure a break even. The 11% is essentially the 77 that I had in the COVID budget, and then in the regular is 66, so 66 plus 11. So the key insight here is I just wanted to remind everyone that the CSU's mission is to serve students. Therefore, non-priority items such as student engagement can only be cut by so much, thus impacting priority items by 11%. For the next slide, I pretty much listed out all of these student engagements, including executive initiatives that are part of the operational budget. And essentially, executive budget lines account for 7 out of the 30 student engagements lines. And then for the rest, which is 23 out of 30, are other student engagements that are listed in the image that you may see. And essentially what I wanted to showcase here is that there was a 52.4% decrease in executive and other student engagements in the operational budget. And just that student engagements are crucial to the CSU as they direct services to the students. So in sum, the executive team believes that a 20% decrease in operations would be detrimental to all student engagements in the operational budget, and that the 20% decrease would also impact priority items by 11%, as student engagements ensure that the CSU follows its mission statement to serve students. So as for the breakdown of the services in the club's budget, essentially over here is all three services, which is HOJO, Advocacy, and LIC. Both of the services, LIC and HOJO, break even except for the Advocacy Center. And the reason for that really is because they had they're currently negotiating with the GSA for a sponsorship. And because they don't currently have it, I did not budget for it, which explains the 21%, the $21,000 reduction. And for the COVID scenario, the reason why all of them are not really breaking even is because in a service meeting that we have weekly, along with all the service managers and the executive team, a lot of the service managers expressed that they wished that their budget increased a little. So that is why I tried to ensure that we can accommodate to them. However, they ended up with a deficit. And for advocacy, there's also an increase of the deficit, but again, that is because they don't have their $21,000 from the GSA. So for the club's budget in the regular scenario, it has not been modified since I last presented this in June. Essentially, just to remind everyone, club salaries have been moved to operational. There was also a creation of equipment budget line for clubs, and that the variance is explained due to the increase of grants. So since clubs' salaries were moved to the operational budget, club's budget actually increased. And for the negative scenario, essentially what has been done here is there has been a 20% reduction in all of the clubs. Again, in this case, it also accounts for the club salaries to have been moved in the operational budget. And again, the equipment budget line is in the negative scenario. So essentially, to ensure that the CSU club's budget breaks even, a 20% reduction has been made. So finally, for the fee levies, essentially, we spoke with the general manager and the executive team, and we thought that it would be better to just not modify it because, first of all, student enrollment is not yet been announced yet, and the fee levy increase has not yet been implemented. And again, we think that if we were to modify the fee levy, they would have to be discussed with stakeholders beforehand. So, and essentially the key insight here is that a fee levy decrease of 20% in operations would set precedents and heavily impact many student initiatives in the operational budget, which is what I highlighted earlier in the operational budget. And so finally, for the CSU's consolidated budget, everything here in the proposed budget has been exactly the same that I presented in June. As for the COVID budget line, it is different because we had to accommodate to the service managers essentially, and that is why we break even by $5,000, well, almost $6,000. And really what I wanted to highlight here is that we ensured that in both scenarios, the CSU ends with a surplus without decreasing employee salaries. So finally, after presenting everyone the budget, I wanted to bring forward a motion. And the motion here, I'll read it out to everyone and I'll make sure to post it in the group chat for everyone to read, including FinCom's recommendation. Whereas the pandemic has caused uncertainty in student enrollment, which directly affects our budget for the year. Whereas the Commerce and Administration Student Association, CASA, budgeted a 6% decrease in revenues. Whereas the Dean of Students, who is in direct contact with the President of Concordia, does not foresee a significant decrease in student enrollment. Whereas this presentation demonstrates the expenses that occur in the year and its significance on the CSU's budget. Whereas a decrease in operations would directly impact student life involvement and initiatives. Whereas the proposed budget has been decided and discussed with all stakeholders, executives, staff, service managers, and the general manager. Whereas this pandemic does not affect the student union, but affects the quality of education offered by administration, leaving leverage to lower tuition costs. Whereas a decrease in fee levies does not account for student enrollment and furthers the issue regarding a potential decrease in enrollment, whereas the regular scenario follows the rules of the finance policy, and that the negative scenario is a precautionary measure taken by the general manager and the executive team. Be it resolved that the student union continues operating based on the COVID-19 scenario, the 20% reduction, until the Dean of Students releases student enrollment as a precautionary measure. If student enrollment decreases by more than 20%, the CSU's budget will be evaluated by the finance coordinator. And if student enrollment decreases by less than the forecasted 20%, the CSU's budget will be the regular scenario budget. Thank you.
So do we have a second for the motion, first of all?
Second.
Second.
Second by, I think that was Harrison. Okay, so I will, or did you have anything else to say, Holly?
No, that was essentially it.
Okay, perfect. Danielle, go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of find it funny that I don't remember reading this motion in FinCom. I read the other motion out and we all passed it unanimously, so I'm kind of confused on where this motion is coming from. So I think instead of doing this, I think we should table this to FinCom or move it to FinCom because we haven't discussed this motion. I feel like I can't vote yes to this just because, I mean, Holly, and everyone else in FinCom, we were working together on creating the motion before. We talked to some of the stakeholders. We actually discussed it with the general manager and everybody. So I don't know where this is coming from because this is not the recommendation we passed at FinCom. Therefore, I don't know why we're even discussing it right now because it didn't follow the proper procedure of getting the vote at FinCom that we discussed in the earlier, we passed at council in the June meeting. I don't know how that works, if this is we're actually able to do this, but if we are, I would like this to be moved to FinCom so we can discuss this further and come to a compromise instead of voting on something that we never even looked at and had a chance to go over. By the way, we had a month-long, gruesome process of talking to people and looking at the budget and doing all our due diligence. So don't forget about that. FinCom's working really hard over here, and we would love to get a chance to look at this motion before it comes to council because I've never seen this before until today. So can I motion to bring this to FinCom?
Not at the beginning. Sorry, you have to motion at the beginning of your, you can't just motivate and then motion afterwards.
Sure. So I will be telling the next person, please motion to bring this to FinCom because I haven't seen this yet. I don't think any FinCom members have either.
Danielle, did you want an answer to your question about where the motion came from Holly? Or was that rhetorical?
It's okay because I just hope this goes to FinCom.
All right, thank you.
An answer to it though.
Oh, yeah, sure, Holly, go ahead.
Yeah, so essentially, the motion really is just because after, once we spoke with, when I had the meeting with FinCom, it was said that this was a recommendation by FinCom. So in the end, it does make room, at least for me, to speak with all the stakeholders before applying the recommendation. So that is why after I had the meeting with FinCom, I met up with everyone and showcased what FinCom's recommendation was. And in the end, the whole team thought that it might not be beneficial for this year, and that's why I brought it up to council. I did make sure to show everyone FinCom's recommendation. It didn't come from nowhere. It really just came from a discussion with all of the stakeholders.
Well, because
sorry, Danielle, your speaker's time is past. Do you want me to put you back on the speakers list?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. Arye? Arye? Okay, I'll leave you there. James, go ahead.
Great. More more drama. I motion to put this to Finance Committee.
Okay, do we have a second to defer this
Second.
to FinCom?
Good.
Who is the second, sorry?
Matthew.
Matthew, okay. Is there, first of all, is there any opposition to deferring this to FinCom?
Yeah.
Okay,
I oppose
so
it.
we'll keep the discussion. James, go ahead. Your motivation?
Right. So from what I gather, basically what happened was that now there's a bunch of drama in the committee. Please sort yourselves out before you bring stuff to council, because I don't want to deal with the drama. So deal with it yourselves, please. Come with a unified recommendation, and then we can vote on it. I don't want to deal with this drama in council.
Thank you. Matthew K.
Yeah, I was just going to say I sit on FinCom committee. I'm even willing to go over the minutes at another meeting. It was said that the recommendation that FinCom gave would be presented to council for a vote. There was never any consultation with FinCom about this motion. There was no message, no nothing. There was no prior consultation with anyone else on FinCom, and it encompasses nothing of what FinCom recommended. So this inherently goes against the mandate of FinCom and renders FinCom useless. So I just don't know what we're doing. So either we shut down FinCom as a committee and executives have full reign, or there's a committee, the committee brings things forward and there's votes on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Eduardo?
I reserve my answer.
Thank you. Sarah? Sarah? Okay, we'll come back to you. Luca?
Oh, this is actually, hi everybody. This is actually for not this motion. I sent a message to you, Caitlin, before. I think that there might have been an error in the count of the last vote. I recall hearing someone pass, and I don't remember you recording that there was a pass.
Yeah, I got him at the end. It was Jeremiah who was the tie-breaking vote, actually.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Desiree, go ahead.
I just want to point out, no matter what the discrepancy between FinCom and the coordinator is, that there is the Finance Committee's recommendations in the slide. So, I mean, at least council is still able to see exactly what the Finance Committee recommends, and then in juxtaposition what the Finance Coordinator recommends. So, yeah, and I overall, I know we're not discussing the Finance Committee's recommendation, but I would just say personally, I wouldn't necessarily be I wouldn't agree with the operations fee decrease by 20%. That scares me a lot, actually, especially if there is a decrease in revenues. For one, that makes a lot less money in the operational budget, a possible deficit, and then it obligates post-COVID CSU to run again a referendum to have an increase. But that's kind of off topic because, again, we're not discussing the Finance Committee's recommendations, we're discussing the Finance Coordinators. And I will, if we do vote on it, I would absolutely vote in favor of the Finance Coordinators, Holly's recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you. Hirsch, go ahead.
Well, I have a question for the chair and I have a motion. Can I bring the motion before, or what, how does that work?
Right now there's a motion to defer on the table, so you can't bring another motion until this is.
Can I motion to amend it?
Sure.
I motion to amend this to table the current motion, or replace the current motion with the one actually approved by FinCom. I believe it stands with the intent, with the original intent of the motion on the table.
Yeah, you can't do that because it goes against the spirit of the whole thing to table, but we can deal with that after if you want. Like, you can't just kind of tack on a completely separate motion to the tabling motion. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Was there anything else you wanted?
Well, I was going to ask you if I can do that, but apparently I have to present the motion before asking. So, yeah. Anyway.
Was that the only motion you wanted to present?
For now, yeah.
Okay, thanks. But like I said, you can just present it after we're done this discussion if that's what you want to do. Chris, go ahead. Chris K.
Hey, so I mean, all I heard about last year was consistently the council critiquing the executive for not going through the appropriate channels, and that's completely justified. But I find it strange that last year this was always an issue, and now we see the same thing, and the response isn't the same from council. To me, it's clear. The executives, working with a committee is not optional. It is mandatory. It is a part of your mandate. It's mandated by our bylaws and by our standing regulations. And if a committee comes to a unanimous decision and the executive, the finance coordinator, is part of that decision-making process, you can't just come to council with a completely different proposal. that's completely going over the head of everyone on the committee, and also just throwing out our entire rules and procedures out the window. So I think that we have no choice but to table this to the Finance Committee for them to come to a consensus. I don't really care if that consensus is 20% decrease or increase or no, nothing at all. But the Finance Committee needs to come here unified, not with an executive coordinator with a completely different plan than what was proposed at the Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you. Isaiah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to remind people that the executives, we didn't come out of, we presented the recommendations that FinCom had made, and they are what they are, recommendations. We are following the proper channels by coming to council. And at the end of the day, like when it came to the recommendations made at FinCom, it's like they were presented in not the most transparent way. In some cases when we use the word unanimously and like different things or whatnot, but like at the end of the day, we came here to, like, we're not going off the hinges and like going and creating a whole new budget, not consulting you. We came to council and presented, as you could see, one of the fellow councilors went to put a motion to consider the recommendations. We just put them side by side, where it's like, okay, this is FinCom's recommendations. We didn't leave anything out. There is nothing that we didn't alter them. We didn't change them. We presented what FinCom said. And then we said what the executive body, the people, as I mentioned before, who are operating, who are doing the job, and what we recommend. And at the end of the day, it's up to council to decide which way it goes. So it's like by being like, okay, there's one way presented, which are recommendations clear as day, and the others were like the executives, the ones who work the day-to-day, and all the different stakeholders who are afflicted by the decisions we make. And so I don't appreciate this, like, this discussion about like, oh, well, executives are not following the rules. They're going against the spirit of how the CSU, at the end of the day, the moment that we bring something to council, that's the proper channel. We went to the committee and we presented. If we had not presented what the committee had said, if we had went and altered what people had said or did something or whatever, I would understand the critique, I would understand the criticism, but we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And like at the end of the day, if you wanted to go back and get a consensus from the two, that's fine. We're gonna go and do it, but I don't want people getting the impression to thinking that like, oh, well, executives are ignoring committees or executives are not working in spirits of a committee. But at the same time, we urge the people on the committee to collaborate properly and respectfully with executives so that we can come to these consensus. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. I want to clarify something with Holly, just according to the standing regs. Did FinCom vote on this particular motion? Because I'm just looking at the finance and operations policy, and it says the FinCom has to vote and approve the proposed budget before it may be submitted to council. So I just want to make sure that if this needs the 2/3 or not.
We
So
only
what was
voted.
voted?
Oh, Holly, go ahead.
So what was voted for was FinCom's recommendation, which was the fee levy decrease.
Okay, I understand. So then if, sorry, I'm just looking. Yeah, Isaiah, go ahead.
This is more so based off of, because what had happened, we're in a gray zone, because remember at the, I think it's the June RCM where we agreed that the budget's already conditionally approved, and we have to come back and present the recommendations to see if the alterations are going to be added.
But we didn't approve the budget fully.
That's why I said conditionally. And
yeah,
so,
I'm just gonna actually kind of ignore this since the sorry, I didn't mean that rudely. I just mean since the motion on the table is to defer to FinCom. So before trying to figure out what the answer to this question is, I will look at the result of that vote first. Sean, go ahead.
I'm so confused right now, like with that there's like something on between FinCom and like there's like issues with the proposal, it seems. But I'm gonna say vote to table until like there's some collaborative motion that's properly presented by FinCom and Unity, and then we should vote on it.
Well, that's what this is.
Thank you. Lauren, go ahead.
Iris, like, can I be at the end of the speakers list, please?
Sure, no problem. Matthew B, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand if if finance committee has never seen this before, why is it being presented as the finance committee recommendations? Like, it just like, how does this work? Like, it's like it's not their recommendation. So shouldn't at least go back and they have a consensus, then it comes back. So basically, I'm just saying, vote to have it tabled, and we'll see it next meeting.
Holly, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, so that was not, the motion is not FinCom's motion. It's when I discussed it with the executive team. So this is my motion, which was highlighted in the PowerPoint. Finance Committee's recommendation was at the beginning of the PowerPoint.
Thank you. Margot, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So honestly, if this goes back to FinCom and there's like contention around it there, it also needs to be approved by council. So we've all had a chance to take a look at it. We've seen a whole presentation about it. I figure, why don't we just vote on this now? People on finance committee have seen it, and also council is going to vote on it anyways. So let's make a decision here instead of sending it back and doing this whole process over. Holly's presented an alternate motion to the finance committee's recommendations, and it's based on the general manager's recommendations and the executive's recommendations, and that seems totally reasonable to me.
Thank you. Danielle, go ahead.
Yeah, so okay, I guess because we didn't bring this to FinCom yet, I don't think if this were to fail, just keep this in mind, everybody, we need to not withstand a certain standing regulation to pass what Holly brought, because we've never seen this at FinCom, and I do believe, I get where everyone's saying. I'm okay with discussing with Holly and creating a different situation and scenario. I'm okay with this. But I do want to say that the general manager actually came to our FinCom meeting when we unanimously passed my motion that I brought forward, and he actually said that it's a great idea to decrease the fee levy because we haven't done so in a very long time, and it would be really cool for us to actually be able to like give more money back to students. They'd be saving almost $10 a student. This is not for this motion though. I am okay with sending this back to FinCom, so please, the next person, call the question so we can get this over with and bring it back to FinCom so we can, again, unanimously approve another motion and actually bring the correct motion to council so we don't have this confusion again.
Matthew K, go ahead.
Can I call the question, please?
Yeah, go ahead. Is there
Sorry, I just have a quick question beforehand. I don't know, I guess a point of information. If we do not vote to table this, will both motions be presented today?
I mean, it depends. Right now, the motion on the floor would be the one that Holly had read, but it would require a notwithstanding clause and a 2/3 majority. So if it went back to that motion, if the deferral to committee failed, then they'd need to add, or someone would need to amend it in order for it to be valid. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so is there a second for the call to question?
Second.
Second by, I think that was Matthew.
It was Chris.
Oh, Chris, sorry. Is there any opposition to calling the question before we vote? Okay, so in that case, we will move to a vote if there's no opposition. So if you're voting yes, it means you want to table this to FinCom. If you're voting no, it means that you do not. And if you're abstaining, it means you are abstaining. Diana, how do you vote?
I vote no.
No. Harrison?
I vote no.
No. Danielle?
Yes.
Yes. Matthew K?
Yes.
Yes. Howard?
Yes.
Yes. Jeremiah? Don't think here. Lauren?
Pass.
Pass. Arieh? There's a lot of noise in the background. Arieh?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, do you vote yes or no? Or abstain?
I vote yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to mute wherever the noise is coming from. Sarah?
Can I pass?
Sure. Margot?
I vote no.
No. Shivani?
Abstain.
Abstain. Amma?
I'll vote no.
No. Yasmin and Marlene aren't here. Chris K?
I vote yes.
Yes, thank you. Christy?
Yes.
Yes. Matthew B?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I change my vote? Can I change my vote?
Yeah, well, it was a no before?
Yeah, and I'd like it to be an abstention, please.
Not a
Thank you.
problem. Sean?
Vote yes.
Yes. Paige?
Abstain.
Abstain. Anais?
Abstain.
Abstain. James? Not here. Desiree?
Yes.
Yes. Hirsch?
Yes. Whoops. It was just muted. Yes.
Sorry, can I?
Yes, Desiree?
I want to change for an abstain. Sorry.
Abstain. Okay. Hirsch, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. And Lauren, you are a pass.
I want to table it to FinCom.
Okay, so that's a yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Yes. Jeremiah, I don't think you were here. Do you want to table this to FinCom? Yes, no, or abstain?
I'm gonna table it, yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so the vote tally is 13 yes, 3 no, and 5 abstentions. So this will be tabled to FinCom to come back at a later date. With that, if there's nothing further on this point, we are on appointment of BIPOC seats on committees. So this is following the motion that was passed at the meeting. Isaiah, do you want to speak to this one? Since it's your meeting.
Yep. So last meeting we had the motion about what's it called? Last meeting we had passed a diversity inclusion motion to add 1 BIPOC seat to very specific committees. So whether I'm not sure if this council is the appropriate, I guess we just need to figure out a way, like, do we want to delegate, like, do we want councilors to motivate to join specific committees of the BIPOC nature? Like, we need to appoint those seats.
All right, thank you. So if I recall, the committees were appointment, policy, external, and I believe one more, if anyone can yell it out.
I don't know. Point of information?
Yes, James?
Question. Are Jewish people considered people of color by the CSU?
No.
Does Isaiah, do you want to answer that? Or
It's a no. It's
That's
a no.
That's
all right.
no.
Oh, thank you, Sarah.
No.
Okay. Let me just find the committees.
Point of information.
Yes.
How can a religion like with very diverse group of people be unanimously not people of color?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's a case by, like, it's not like if you're Jewish.
Like would Moroccan Jewish be considered a person of color?
Yes, because they're Moroccan, not because they're.
A Sephardi is a Jew.
Yeah, Sephardi. Like, there's multiple Sephardi on this council.
Sarah, do you want
Point of information.
yes, Harrison.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I think what Isaiah is saying is that it depends on the type of Jewish person and their background. So I guess Sephardics would be considered because they are considered people of color, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you. Sarah?
No, it's okay. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Okay, so sorry, I'm still trying to find that last committee. It's appointments, policy, external, and student life. So following the motion, like I said, at the last meeting, so I guess we can start with appointments. Does anyone need me to read out the wording from the last meeting? Isaiah, go ahead.
No, I guess a question I would want to ask is, would we prefer to maybe delegate the BIPOC committee to appoint BIPOC members of council to the committees, or do we want to handle it here at council and kind of like have council vote?
I mean, I'm obviously not going to answer that, but that's like, if you want to make the motion, go ahead. Just to give a bit of context to the BIPOC committee. So when it was first created, one of the one of the procedures that it follows is that a BIPOC committee isn't it's not appointed by counselors, just kind of on the basis that it would be weird for council to decide, like a predominantly white council to decide who the best BIPOC members would be for committees. So that's why BIPOC appoints itself, and any BIPOC students who are executives that are on the committee, and they kind of arrange that. So yeah, I don't know if that.
Point of information.
Yes.
Well, in addition to the point about, like, if I recall the motion correctly, was it not BIPOC and woman?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up just so we have the correct wording.
Can I speak to that since it was mine? Yeah, I raised my hand to say that, yeah, I know most of what we were talking about was BIPOC, but it was BIPOC, women, and gender minorities. That seat was for.
If I remember correctly, I think it kind of got into, like, I could be wrong, but wasn't it amended for the sake of the, like, when we got into discussion, people were like, well, how do you do this? How do you police that? And then it got amended to just be BIPOC, but I could be completely mistaken.
I'm trying to find the exact wording, but Isaiah, did you want to make a motion to have BIPOC appoint the committee?
Well, if Shivani and Hirsch are correct, then it might not make sense, because then we have like kind of like different parodies. So I was just saying, like, I remember it being that it passed as ended up being like BIPOC seats because of all the different, like, from our discussion, but I could be wrong.
I'm just pulling up the minutes from that meeting that Michelle had posted in the group. Let me get the wording of this. Sorry about that. I'm just looking if there were amendments. There doesn't seem to be any amendments in the minutes that were discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, and the exact wording was the be it resolved that notwithstanding standing regulation 17A, a fifth seat for a counselor be added to the appointments, policy, external, and student life committees, and that the seat be restricted to Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women, and gender minority counselors. And then, yeah, there are no amendments that I can see. Sorry, I'm just looking at this quick. Yeah, no, there's nothing that I can see in the minutes at least. So Isaiah, did you want to entertain the motion or no?
Okay, then no, I rescind.
Okay, James, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to speak on the potential motion for the BIPOC committee, but since that's not on I rescind.
Okay, thank you. Matthew B.
Never mind, I rescind. It was a
All right, and Hirsch, go ahead.
My bad, I didn't realize my hand was up.
Oh, okay, I guess nobody meant to have their hand up. Okay, so I guess we'll go through the committees then, starting with appointments, if everyone wants to do this here. So is there anyone who would like to nominate themselves for appointments? And that being said, if there's more than 2 counselors for the committee, we'll do the secret ballot as usual. So yeah, the floor is open if you want to appoint yourself to the appointments committee.
Wait, just to clarify, does the policy, is it gender minorities or is it
yes,
just gender?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe, Shivani, before the meeting, you had told me that Sarah wanted to appoint herself.
Yeah, I think her hand is raised.
Oh, it is. Oh, sorry, my mistake. There you go. Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate myself.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Shivani. Is there anyone else who'd like to appoint themselves? Okay, so if not, Sarah, I'll give you the floor if you want to motivate for yourself for a quick 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not in any committees currently, and I do have experience being on a committee. I was a student at large for both external and clubs and spaces last semester. And yeah, and I just want to ensure that the CSU is appointing a diverse group of people. So that's all I have to say. Sorry, I wasn't super prepared.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there any discussion before we move to a vote? Okay, so is there any opposition to appointing Sarah to the appointments committee? Okay, so if there's no opposition, then that carries unanimously. And we'll just go by alphabetical order for the committees. So the external committee, if anyone would like to put themselves forward for external, external.
I'd like to nominate myself.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Harrison. Lauren.
Can I nominate myself, please?
Yes. Do we have a second?
I'll
Second
second.
by Harrison. Chris K.
Yeah, Danielle wanted me to nominate her, so I'd like to do that. She had to leave for an exam.
Okay. Do we have a second for Danielle? Or I guess. Sorry. Oh, seconded by Hirsch. And Hirsch.
Wait, which committee are we on?
External.
I'd like to nominate Natalia Whittley. I checked in with her beforehand.
Okay, and she consents to the nomination, so she will be like a second. Okay, so I'll give all the candidates a couple, 30 seconds-ish to motivate for themselves. I'll just go in the order that they nominated themselves. So Shivani, why do you want to sit on the External and Mobilization Committee?
Okay, so I've been sitting on the meetings thus far, so I know what's going on in that committee, and the learning curve isn't really steep. It's pretty level. The annual campaign is Black Lives Matter, and in extension, that's systemic racism, the latter of which, as a summer international student, I am very familiar with. And the initial motion for this was to diversify and make sure that committees that lack racial diversity get that racialized voice perspectives, because people who don't experience racism won't immediately consider certain perspectives. And from the conversations I've heard in external, the decisions made, I know that I have a lot of things to bring to the table, and I hope council gives me the opportunity to be a voting member there. That's my motivation. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, go ahead.
I want to rescind. I want the seat to go to someone of a person of color, not me.
All right, thank you. Danielle. Danielle's not here. I guess in the interest of fairness, if anyone wants to motivate for Danielle.
Can I just ask how many people are running right now?
There's Shivani, Danielle, and Natalia.
All right. Yeah, Danielle wants to actually rescind her nomination.
Okay, not a problem. And Natalia Hirsch, do you want to motivate for Natalia?
I'm not going to motivate for Natalia. I will, however, clarify a point of that as the chair of the committee. This has been something which caused an awful lot of confusion. I have been told repeatedly, received assurances and so on, that this committee, earlier there was an assertion that this handles the annual campaign. I have been told by the general coordinator that in fact it doesn't, and is not generally
point of person.
Wait, yeah, sorry, what does this have to do with the nominations, Hirsch? Was that going?
No, because there was an earlier assertion that the person who would end up on this committee would be working on the annual campaign.
Sorry, this is really inappropriate.
Point of personal privilege.
I guess I should give the chairs of the committee a second to talk about the committee first, as I usually do. I just kind of figured everyone knew what was up with the committees. But Hirsch, do you want to talk about what the mandate of the committee is?
Sure. So the mandate of the committee, as it stands now, based off of what I've been told, as well as how we operate, seems to be basically a granting body. And like any assertion that we have to do with the planning and so on of the BLM annual campaign, I've been assured by the general coordinator that that is not the case.
Point of personal privilege.
Do you want to
clarify? Personal privilege, yes, because I'm like, why are you speaking for me? Because I'm like, I did
you
not.
said one thing to me and one to the rest of the council, and I find
Okay,
that highly problematic.
can we just clarify not what the mandate of the committee is not, but what the mandate of the committee is?
Okay.
First off, the mandate of well, I'm not sure, Caitlin. Do I have that's still the personal privilege or?
Yes, if you want to state your point of personal privilege, Isaiah.
Yes.
And then I'll
I'm confusion anyway. As is presented in the standing regulations and as I've communicated to people, the external committee, yes, it acts as a granting body. However, it oversees with the union's external relations and working in collaboration with overseeing the annual campaign.
All right, thank you. Hirsch, is there anything you wanted to add?
I would like to remind the general coordinator that a motion was proposed or submitted stating that the committee would meet later to work on the annual campaign, and it was modified to remove that clause without consulting the person who submitted it on the basis that the committee does not actually work on that. So I'm finding this rather confusing.
Okay, well, now we have the inner workings of the external committee. Okay, so I'll continue with the nominations. So Hirsch, and would Natalia still would like to continue her nomination?
I'm not going to motivate for Natalia. I think, you know,
yeah, it's no
I'm
problem.
not the right person.
Okay, so is there anyone who wants to motivate for Natalia to be on the committee? Okay, so if not, we will move to voting, or is there anyone that needs to say anything before we move to a vote on the two candidates?
Wait, can you repeat the two candidates, please?
Yep, it's Shivani and Natalia.
Okay, can I wait for Shivani?
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
Well, Shivani's just awesome. If you guys ever worked with her, very diligent. She was our minute keeper last year, absolutely amazing. And I really, really, really want a person of color on this committee to help lead this campaign. It can't all be white people leading Black Lives Matter. So really important, please vote for Shivani.
All right, thank you. Emma, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to motivate for Shivani. I've worked with her on some projects since the beginning of this year. I can attest to her diligence. Also, given the fact that we have a limited number of international students that are in committees and council, I think it's good that we have someone coming from a foreign country that is very involved in this position. I think it's important. I would highly invite you folks to vote for her. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anais, go ahead.
I would like to point out that Shivani has been at every meeting since the beginning of this mandate, and that should be taken into consideration to her professionalism.
All right, thank you. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, Shivani has attended some of my policy committee meetings, and I think she would be a fantastic addition to your committee. So it's about time we have some people of color. So let's vote for Shivani.
Thank you. Harrison, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, speaking with Shivani and, you know, seeing her influence also on policy as minute keeper, and I know she does the same on external out of her own free will, that shows real dedication. And for me, I think she would be a good asset to the committee. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Matthew B., go ahead.
I just want to say that I support Shivani. I think she's going to be very good in this position. She's been in a lot of policy meetings and has done very well.
All right, thank you. Okay, so if there's nothing further, we can move to a vote. So as we always do for the committee nominations, it will be secret ballot. So I will turn off the recording, and then when I say your name, you can just type into the chat who your vote is, and then I will tally them. And that is that. So let me just pause there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chris K.
Yeah, so first of all, just like to tell everybody that Amadou is amazing, and nothing I say is to detract from that. He works very hard. He did a great job on the club's policy last year with Patrick. So serious commendation for that. However, I'd like to talk about Danielle. I mean, if you want to talk, since the spirit of this position is, you know, people who are who are more disadvantaged, I'd just like to talk about some of the aspects in Danielle's life where she's like truly a badass woman. And I'd say that'd probably be that she's going into a finance career very soon. And that is a field dominated completely by men and by some really, really harsh, you know, 1980s style, like Wall Street men. And for her to be in that field and to put herself there is incredible. And you know, the fact that she's doing it all through her hard work is even more incredible. So, and how does that relate to policy? I mean, it doesn't. Just want to give you a bit about who she is in terms of policy. I mean, almost everything last year that I worked on, I would pretty much give it to her to proofread. She's got a lot of experience, and yeah. So that's why I think Danielle's great.
Thank you. Isaiah, go ahead.
So I would like to speak in favor of Amadou because after, as Chris said, he did an astounding good job as being a full year on council last year, working on clubs policy and kind of thinking from a holistic perspective of how to create proper policy. I would just urge people to be very careful in saying people are more disadvantaged than others, especially because like gender parity, race, everybody's issues are copacetic, but just be careful. All right, that's it.
All right, thank you. Sarah, go ahead.
Just to reiterate what Isaiah said, I think it would really be great to have Alma on policy committee, especially as a Black person as well, since I'm also the only Black person on policy committee right now, which is quite unfortunate. So yeah, I really would support Alma, especially I've seen some of the work he does and his resilience and dedication to what he does for policy. So I would really think it'd be beneficial to have him on the team.
All right, thank you. Desiree, go ahead.
I'd like to speak in favor of Ama. I mean, I worked with him last year as he was on council and I was an executive, and the motivation and loyalty he has to the CSU is very rare to see. And also overall a fairness and like a level-headedness that's very much appreciated also when emotions run really high. So yeah, please vote for him.
All right, thank you. Matthew B, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be voting for Danielle because I feel like if it was Amma on the team, it'll be 4 men and 1 woman, and this way it'll be 3 men and 2 women, so it'll be more equal that way. Because right now I think I'm not a big fan of having that bad of a gender ratio on this committee. So that's just my reasons.
All right, thank you. Shivani, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to also motivate for Ama, my BIPOC international student pal. He did work on policy while he was overseas last year, so he does have a lot of experience in that. He's very diligent, very hardworking, and a voice of reason, so I'll be voting for Ama.
Thank you. Lauren, go ahead.
Well, just wanted to point out, like last year, like Ama went back home to his home country and was still working on the CSU from a different country in a non-COVID situation. So that just shows you the level of dedication that you put the Atlantic Ocean in between him and the CSU, and he still comes to the CSU. So I also just wanted to say, like, Ama's been a really big supporter of motions that do benefit women's rights and helping with gender equality. So I do feel like he would be like qualified in a sense to help deal with those issues as well, because he has had experience in the past supporting those types of motions.
Thank you. Eduardo, go ahead.
Yeah, I would also like to speak up for Ama. Like has been said, he went from Senegal, he was working. He wrote a full policy by himself. He passed a referendum question almost entirely on his own. He's volunteered on committees to help out on things he wasn't even actually appointed to. He's volunteered just to help out in every capacity imaginable. I think he would be an excellent person for this committee, as well as every other committee, frankly.
All right, thank you. Margot, go ahead.
Hey, I'd like to echo that and also add that if there's worry about gender parity on this specific committee, I think everybody should listen to all of the women and like gender minority voices who are speaking up right now in favor of Ama, and there seems to be a clear push for him representing council on this committee.
All right, thank you. Okay, so if there's nothing further, we can move to a vote. So I'll just pause. Sorry, let me just make sure we're recording. Okay, so in that case, we'll vote on the conflict of interest. So when I say your name, we will say, or you will say whether you think it's a conflict of interest. That's a yes. If it's a no, if you do not think it is. And if it's an abstain, it's an abstain. Diana, how do you vote?
Just disclosure, I haven't had enough time to think about this topic like in general, so I'll just abstain.
Okay. Harrison?
I'm going to abstain as well.
Okay. Matthew K.
Am I allowed to ask a
You muted yourself.
Am I allowed to ask a clarification question as to what James had said before? Because for me, it just comes down to a legal premise.
Not during the vote.
Okay, so then I pass.
Okay. Howard.
I do not think it's a conflict of interest.
Thank you. Jeremiah.
If they were fighting, if it was like a candidate who was on council versus a candidate who was not on council, it's a different story. But this is council versus council, and I'm sorry, Chris and Danielle are both voted in, so I think they both have the right to vote, even if they're, even
So
if
a yes or a no?
No, it's not a conflict of interest.
Right, thank you. Lauren.
Yes.
Yes. Arye.
I don't think there is a conflict of interest for Chris, neither for Emma.
All right, thank you. Sarah?
Yeah.
All right, Margot?
I do believe it's a conflict of interest, yes.
Thank you. Shivani?
Yes.
Thank you. Amma?
Abstain.
Thank you. Chris K?
I vote no.
Chris P?
I abstain.
Thank you. Matthew P?
No.
Thank you. Sean?
No.
Thank you. Paige?
Yes.
Thank you. Anais?
Since Chris called that he had a conflict of interest on his best friend last time, I think there's a conflict of interest.
Thank you. James?
No.
Thank you. Desiree?
Yes. Conflict of interest.
I'd like to.
Yes.
I'd like to change my vote to yes.
Okay, you were an abstain before, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hirsch?
For what James said, no.
Thank you. And Matthew?
No.
Thank you. Okay, so with a tally of 8 yes, 9 no, and 3 abstain, so the motion fails and council does not consider it a conflict of interest. So that being said, we're still on the premise that there are 2 candidates. And James, did you have a suggestion motion?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. I motion to notwithstand the relevant standing regulation. I think it's somewhere, whatever number, appoint both of them to council, to the policy.
Okay. Do we have a second to appoint both members to policy, or both individuals to policy?
Second.
That was Desiree. Lauren, you want to motivate James?
Yeah. Well, we already did this before. Last time there was a tie, so there's precedent.
All right. Okay. So, is there any opposition to appointing both to the committee? All right. So, congratulations to Emma and Danielle. You're both on the policy, which will be a very big committee, which is good. So, congratulations. All right. So, with that, on Student Life Committee, and who would like to nominate themselves to Student Life? Anyone?
I'd like to nominate Howard Isley.
It's only for Black, Indigenous, people of color, and also gender minority. Sorry.
Misheard. Sorry.
Not a problem.
I'll nominate myself to Student Life Committee.
All right. Is there anyone else who wants to nominate themselves or someone else to Student Life? Okay. So in that case, Amma, why would you like to be on Student Life Committee?
I've sat in the committee last year. It was a very positive environment. I also had some policy ideas to make just a few adjustments in the way we process the application, just to make the committee more efficient. But I'm already sitting in Clubs and Spaces Committee. I have dedication for student activities. I think certain committees like that are not very popular, it seems, among counselors, but they are very, very important, because those are the ones that affect the students more directly. So thanks in advance for voting.
All right, thank you. Shivani, you had told me before the meeting that Diana wanted to nominate herself. Is she here?
Yeah, I'm here. I originally considered nominating myself, but then it seems like the original part of this mission was for BIPOC people. So I was waiting to see if somebody from the BIPOC community was going to nominate themselves. So since they did, I'm like good to just not nominate myself.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Daniel, go ahead.
I just want to support Amma running for Student Life. He's on my committee for Clubs in Space, and we're all doing an amazing job. So I think he can support their group also.
All right, thank you. Lauren, go ahead.
Like, I'm just curious, like, is there anyone that's not currently on a committee right now that needs to be on a committee?
I am technically not on a committee, so like that's also part of the reason I considered, but like I'm still okay to like wait for a while and see if like spots open up later in the year, considering like this is for BIPOC again.
Okay, it's for BIPOC and gender minorities, but I mean, nobody should feel unwelcome to nominate themselves to a committee. Amma, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, if Diana wants to go, then I'm certainly going to think. I mean, the motion wasn't just for BIPOC people. It was also for women and other minorities. So I already have 3 committees right now, so I wouldn't mind rescinding for sure to allow Diana to get in.
I can also just like nominate myself as well. Then sorry, I missed last meeting, so I just wanted to like make sure I was like doing everything how it was decided. But I can nominate myself then as well. We can
absolutely.
also take it to a vote. Okay.
Okay. Is there a second for Diana?
Second.
Second. I think that was Lauren. Alrighty then. Desiree, go ahead.
It's okay. I was just going to encourage Diana to run either way, but since she already did it, it's great.
All right, thank you. Amma, go ahead.
Yes, is it possible to rescind my nomination?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, I will rescind.
All right. Lauren, go ahead.
I just don't see like Yasmin or Marlena on any committees either. Like both of those people would be excellent candidates for.
Yasmin is on Loyola. So
yeah,
on
from
Loyola.
the last meeting or
She's
2 meetings.
on Clubs in Space.
Okay, then we're good. Never mind.
Okay. So Diana, why would you like to be on the Student Life Committee?
Yeah, for sure. So there was a point in my Concordia time in my Concordia where I really started to get involved in student life, first in different clubs and then in organizing different clubs and just like enhancing student life at Concordia. And I've definitely benefited from a lot of the services that are offered at Concordia overall, like the Gender Advocacy Center and other student-run initiatives. And I would just like to be able to do whatever I can to like make sure that student life keeps running at Concordia and that it gets better and better and benefits more students.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so if not, I just need a motion to appoint Diana to the Student Life Committee.
I motion to appoint Diana to Student Life Committee.
All right, thank you, Jeremiah. And we need a second.
Second.
Is there any opposition to appointing Diana to the Student Life Committee? All right, so then it is unanimous. Congratulations, Diana. You're on the Student Life Committee.
All right, thank you so much.
Welcome. And for the people who've been appointed today, your committee chairs will be in contact with you about meeting dates and all that. So yeah, with that, I believe that is the end of appointments. Not I believe, it is the end of appointments. So we can move on to the executive bonus motion. And Desiree, this one is yours.
Hi, Caitlin. Can I just ask for a 10-minute recess before we get into it? Like a little pause before we end it all. Thanks.
Is everyone okay with a 10-minute recess?
Just a point of order, please.
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was told that this motion might be illegal.
There's
like
only
very illegal.
There's one part of it that will just be stricken is all.
But if Patrick already cashed the bonus, can't we not do that?
There's one sentence of it that will just be stricken from the motion that regards that, and that's all.
I have a question.
Sorry, I just want to say something before we start because it seems people have opinions about this motion. First of all, the motion itself has changed because indeed the executive whose bonus was decided in the 2020-2021 mandate have already gotten the money. So that is true. I would like for us to take a recess. That's why I asked for it, a 10-minute recess, and then I'll read the motion. You'll see exactly what's happening now, and then we can have the discussion.
Thank you. Is everyone good with a 10-minute recess?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll reconvene at 7:03. Thank you, folks. All right, folks, are we good to reconvene? Desiree, are you there? Okay, so we'll wait till Desiree gets back.
Hi, I'm here.
You're good. Perfect. All right. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to read out the new modified motion I have because indeed some new information has come to light since I've sent in the motion.
Okay,
So
just make sure you post it in the chat.
yeah, I'll post it now so people can see. Sorry, my computer is slow. Actually, give me just a few seconds. I'm going to go on my phone internet so that it doesn't cut out.
Not a problem.
Am I good?
Yep, yeah, you're good.
Okay, so yeah, my internet is weird, so I'm just going to post it when it's back online. So whereas section 14.14.4 of the Finance and Operations Policy states, during its May regular council meeting, council may choose to award a bonus to each executive of up to 10% of their salary in recognition of their performance during their mandate. Whereas there is currently an evaluation grid being worked on by the policy committee to ensure the executive bonuses are fair and independent of personal relations. Whereas only council that has worked with the executives is meant to vote on their bonus. Whereas having a council that has not worked with the executives vote on their bonus is illogical and goes against the spirit of the regulation 14.4. Be it resolved that addition is made to the regulation 14.4, stating the decision made on the last May regular council meeting is final and cannot be revoted on. Be it further resolved that budgetary impact is null. So,
do we have a second for the motion?
Thanks.
Second.
Second by Isaiah, and you have the floor, Desiree.
Thank you. Yeah, so as everyone got, as we were going to recess, the motion being presented now is different than the one I wanted. I just learned recently that the decisions made during the 2020-2021 mandate have already been implemented. So that's why this motion has no budgetary impact. Also, I just want to state that it's my wish to have this discussion in open session because I don't want to discuss, and now there is evidently no need to discuss any particular executive from 2019-2020 because none of the words we will be exchanging today is going to impact those executives, except for, I mean, me, but that's outside. So yeah, I just want to state that I don't want to go into closed session. I don't want to state any names. And I just want to stay as vague as possible, talking about 2019 previous executives and current council. So I was not able to make it to the last special council meeting. And once I learned that, I was appalled essentially when I learned of the votes that happened about the previous mandate's executive bonus for one main reason. The decision was made about the previous mandate. I worked on the finance policy myself with the academic and advocacy coordinator and the policy committee. And that finance policy passed in our May regular council meeting. I know the sentiment and I know the spirit behind the regulation 14.4. Only council that has worked with the executives is meant to vote on their bonus. The fact that it has happened is, again, appalling, frankly. This is what I call financial financial mismanagement, sorry, not financial management, financial mismanagement. And I urge everyone in the future to pay attention to the due process, especially with COVID. The CSU might be in a very dire financial situation. So making these types of, okay, it has passed, so that's it. I just hope that this won't happen again. So that is why I want to bring the modification to the finance policy. I want to ensure that this type of mismanagement never is even presented to council again, and that people don't even have to discuss previous executives' experience, or yeah, I just don't want current council to, you get the gist essentially. I just don't want this to happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. I will open the floor to speakers. Matthew, go ahead. Matthew B.
I have two things. First off, can we get this in writing? Because I don't know, we didn't get this version.
Yeah,
And
I'll send it to the chat. Sorry, my internet was at whack, but it's good now.
Okay. And secondly, the policy committee isn't working on a grid. I don't know where you got that because I just confirmed with our exec and couple members. We've never heard about this before.
Okay, then I should make a modification. I think certain tasks weren't well communicated between the previous policy chair and the current policy chair, because at our last May special council meeting, the policy committee was tasked with creating this grid. You know, a past councillor had worked on a fair system to have council vote on executives. So that's on me. And also there was just a miscommunication between the two chairs.
Can
I just
I?
wanted to confirm that.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, did you want to clarify?
Yeah, just because I'm chair of the policy committee, just to reiterate, yeah, like Desiree, there was no
Sorry.
so not
Sorry
from you,
about-
so because it's not your responsibility, right? It was Patrick's. So like yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No, don't worry.
Okay.
All good? All right, thank you. Shivani, go ahead.
Yeah, so trying to stay as vague as possible. So let's not sidetrack too hard back into whether the decided 1% bonus was deserved or not. That's not what this motion is about, as Desiree just said. This was about that decision being dragged over to a new mandate because some councillors disagreed with their previous mandate's decision. And that bonus being granted or being changed is always up to the opinion of the relevant mandate. And this current council, me included, we didn't have the personal experience to be able to weigh in on that vote and decide, and that vote should never have happened. And we did not have the capacity to give $3,187.42 extra. We have to be financially savvy always, but especially now. And it was very irresponsible for previous councillors to bring that up because we have no basis apart from anecdotes, and we don't know if we would have agreed with that decision. We don't know how that vote would have gone if we were there because we weren't. And everything about that previous motion, that previous meeting was very unscrupulous, especially discussed in closed session. So, you know, that can't be revoked now, but at least this will make sure this won't be repeated.
Thank you. Amma, go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to point out that this year there has been budget adjustments to deal with the COVID situation. And then right in the middle of the semester, we had a motion to, you know, to cut from our current budget to, you know, to amend the decision that was made in the previous year. I think that is very financially responsible. I think this, the motion that passed the previous meeting should be taken back because especially from the finance committee recommendation that happened at the beginning of our mandate that was seeking to have a more financially responsible outlook for the year. This does not fit the direction we're trying to go for. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Isaiah, go ahead.
Yep, I think just to correct, I think Amma meant to say irresponsible, so I'm not sure about that. Like I think because I heard responsible, but just to clarify, irresponsible. But kind of just back onto the sentiment of especially this COVID year, these concerns, like this is nothing new. It was said when the decision was about to be made, but I guess it fell on deaf ears. But more so than anything, you can't commit financial mismanagement and then preach financial like saving people money. Where I'm like, at the end of the day, this is all student money. So you can't be on one issue, be like, oh, we have the money. And then on the next issue, be like, oh, well, no, we don't have the money. We can't do that. At the end of the day, every counselor has a judiciary duty to make decisions in the best interest of the union. And so I'm like, financially speaking, you have to make sure that you know what you're voting on, you know the financial implications, and listen to the people who have both the experience and the knowledge to kind of like guide it into the right direction. So, because right now, if we wanted some, like this is a vulnerability, the fact that you go from one year to the next, like people were making a decision that's something that they could not have any way of knowing how the performance of last year went. More than half of the council, arguably probably more than 75% of the council was not a councillor last year. We have executives on this council, and it's just a sticky situation that we don't want to find ourselves in and have to deal with any legal implications for matters like this. So just make sure to inform yourself and know what you're voting on.
Thank you. Hadassah from the Concordian. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I want to know that the motion speaks about a vote in May regarding the bonus. If someone knew more about that vote, had the previous executives or counselors voted no?
Sorry, point of personal privilege. I can't
I
quite
can't hear you very well.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I wanted to know, the motion speaks about a vote in May regarding Patrick Quinn's bonus. Was it awarded to him or not by the previous counselors?
Can I?
Ray, did you want, or Isaiah,
Oh.
someone want to clarify?
Des, do you want to
Bonus
take
of
it?
1%. Yeah, a bonus of 1% was awarded to the academic and advocacy coordinator in 2019, 2020. And then, yeah.
Please
And,
continue.
yeah,
And then I'll go. And then 2 weeks ago, this council 2020-2021 decided to award that executive the remaining 9% of the bonus because the cap is 10%. And right now the bonus cannot be revoked anymore because the money has already been deposited. Yeah. But so the motion just ensures that this type of what I think is a mistake cannot happen again in the future years.
So point of information.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Just to clarify, we're talking about future here.
Yes.
Correct, Desiree?
Yeah, because there's nothing to be done about in the past.
Okay. Got it. Thank you for that clarification.
Good.
Thank you. Hirsch, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to motion to table this to policy committee.
Okay. Do we have a second to table this to policy committee?
A point of information, just if this is changed to standing regs, right? So
The motion, let me just find the wording. Or Desiree, is there a motion to?
Is there a referendum needed for this or?
No, just for bylaws.
Oh, okay.
Standing regulations, it requires a 2/3 majority of council and they go through policy committee and then come back before ratification.
Okay, thank you. I just was clarifying how this worked. Thank you.
Right. Do we have a second to defer to policy committee? Okay. Okay, so if there's no second, then the motion fails. Oh, second, that was Jeremiah, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now we're discussing whether or not to defer this to policy. Hirsch, do you want to motivate?
Certainly. So I'll begin by noting that we are not talking about, we cannot be talking about the motion passed at the last SCM. However, we seem to keep going back to it. Now, I can't go into the nuances of that because everything there was closed session and this is open session. Similarly, when the original decision was made, that was also closed session. So once again, can't go into the nuances there. But now back to the point here, which is we're discussing changing a policy. There are some, while I understand the general, the general intent, and I think it's a good one, there are quite a few nuances here, especially considering that we did not consider what was actually, when writing this motion, I don't see how you could have considered, how anyone, can't say you, could have considered what the actual relevant facts were last year and this year, as in neither case was the person who wrote this present at those actual meetings. I believe that in certain cases, there actually should be some ability to look back at those decisions. For example, if the actual decision is made at the end of, right at the end of the mandate, where there's no time to appeal, there is a right to appeal. Yeah, so I think this policy, or this amendment to the policy, needs to be thought through, and it needs to actually go through policy committee.
All right, thank you. So those on the speakers list, is it to talk about deferring to policy or for the previous? Okay, so I'll go through. Alex. There's someone named Alex on the speakers list. Sorry, I'm not sure if you are media or just interested student. Okay, well, you can always raise your hand again if you want to speak. Lauren, go ahead.
So I'm just a little curious, like, why are we deferring to policy committee on this? Like, I know that, like, for a secret ballot, for example, like, we had that previous council instated secret ballot whenever someone called it, and we couldn't vote on secret ballot. Just if someone said it, then we automatically went to secret ballot. So like we just reneged on something passed by previous council, and now like aren't we doing the same thing here? Like if we didn't go to policy committee for that, why are we going to policy committee for this? Like what's the difference on this?
Can I take?
Oh, Isaiah or Desiree, want to answer?
Isaiah can go first. It's good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, point of personal privilege.
Yes.
The question is why we're tabling. The motion to table is brought by me. Shouldn't I get to answer that?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Well,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Because
Which is whoever offered to answer first. But yeah.
It's a change to the standing regs, which in general should go through policy or at least get feedback from the members of policy. As well, I do believe that this does not take into account, as I mentioned before, this does not take into account the particular nuance of, well, several nuances, but one in particular, which is what happens if the SDM who actually just make the decision is called too late for there to be enough time to appeal it.
All right, thank you. Isaiah, go ahead.
Yeah, so in the sense of, at the end of the day, it has to, can you put me at the bottom, Caitlin? I lost my thought.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Desiree, go ahead.
Because they're talking about bringing it to policy committee, I just want to say this is literally one line. So I don't know what there is to discuss. It says the decision made on the last May regular council meeting is final and cannot be revoted on. I personally think a bonus is exactly what it is. It's a bonus. It's an additional thank you. It's not a right. So I don't really know how and why it should ever be appealed. And staying vague in this current council, it wasn't an executive, it wasn't a past executive that brought it back to council for it to be appealed. It was a current councillor. So the past executive, I can't go into details because I wanted to remain in open session, but essentially that is a detail to be noted. Yeah, and it's one line.
Thank you. Alex, go ahead.
Okay, I think my microphone's working.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, and to clarify, this is Alex from the link. I may have missed this, so anybody can stop me if I'm just asking a question that has been covered already. So the part about the section 14.14.4 about that kind of states, the whole outline of the bonus. Has it been determined whether that was not followed in a way that would then make that last motion null? And then because I did get the part about how the bonus has been dispersed, so obviously it can't be taken back, but if it was improperly dispersed, could council be like, hey, please? I mean, I guess I'm seeking clarification on both the aspect of, was a rule broken that made that dispensing not according to bylaw, and is there, I get you can't just go into Patrick's bank account and rip out that money, but.
Yeah, Desiree, do you want to respond?
I agree with you. I kind of feel like the rules were broken, but obviously there's a disagreement in council because council voted to do it even if other councilor members feel the rules were broken. So I think the next step, if this doesn't pass or whatever happens with this, I guess it would have been judicial board if we thought that the standing regs were not respected while bringing forward this motion. And yeah, I think judicial board is the place to go when it's a gray zone.
And can I follow up on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I guess this becomes hypothetical, but could it be argued that if some councillors, I feel like maybe some councillors would not have voted in favor if they knew that they were voting for something that wasn't okay. That seems like a relevant point. I don't think not knowing the regulations should be an excuse for something
Point
passing.
of order.
Yes, James?
This is not an interview.
No, but I'm a student and a media. I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, they can come to our meetings and ask questions. That's not a problem.
But anyway, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
it was a hypothetical, so I don't think that Desiree could, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I don't know if it would be appropriate for you to give a hypothetical answer. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. Was that all you had to ask?
Oh, yes, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Eduardo, go ahead.
Yeah. So yes, I'm a little confused as why we'd be setting this to policy. Technically, the rule already stands. It's very clear that the bonuses are only allotted in May and not at any other time. Desiree, who wrote this policy, knows the intent behind it. When she wrote it very clearly, in my personal opinion. Ironically enough, Patrick signed off on it as policy committee chair. Not all the people in this council, but a lot of people in this council as well signed off on it in the meeting, since I saw there was a good amount of turnover from last year's council to this year. So everyone has no excuse of not being aware of it. That being said, there are people who are new and who might not have been aware of that rule. I think it's important that it's clarified here even further, since there does seem that it was the beginning of the mandate, people aren't sure of all the rules yet, so it's perfectly okay if you miss that rule. But yeah, it should be clarified as clear as possible. That is what everyone wanted. It's already, in my opinion, very clear, but obviously it requires even more clarity on behalf of future councils so that this mistake never happens again. And yeah, I don't think anyone in this room would have a problem voting this for Hirsch's concern, where if something were to happen where they could revisit, it is a standing reg, so by 2/3 vote it could be broken to fix it in the event that something extreme does happen. But I don't see what modification to the word policy committee would end up doing, since it's literally one line. Anything else just in my opinion is a process to delay it even further. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've been on this.
Caitlin, I remember what I was going to say.
Isaiah, go ahead.
Okay. And so also, what was mentioned was the grid itself kind of in combination. It's like the reason why you wouldn't appeal a bonus is the assumption is that we would work on the clarifications so that the bonuses, instead of on that subjectivity of the relationship or whatnot, we would have clear and concise ways to measure it, so that, like, based off what the person presents and the tasks accomplished, that it becomes more transactional than it does opinionated. So if we're going to task anything to policy committee, which it's already been tasked, but if we're going to kind of like formally motion or whatever, is to clarify how you allocate a bonus. But the fact is that it needs to be allocated in May and no other time.
Thank you. Okay, so we've been on this topic to deferral. Is there anyone who wants to continue this discussion, or can we take a vote so that we don't run over time for this, point? Harrison?
Yeah, just a question. So in regards to, I believe it was Eduardo or Isaiah that may have mentioned this, is there something currently in the standing regulations or bylaws that states that the bonus is determined in May and not, I would like that clarified.
Yeah, in the Code of Standing Regulations, it says during its May regular meeting, council may choose to award a bonus to each executive of up to 10% of their salary in recognition to their performance during the mandate.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification.
No problem. And then Desiree spoke to the what do you call it? The spirit of that, which is that in only May was the spirit of that standing regulation when it was implemented. Does that make sense? Okay. Is everyone good with voting on this, whether to defer to policy committee or not? Or do we want to continue the discussion?
Hello, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, my phone died, but back then I wanted to object to, like answers that were presented as authoritative when in fact they're not, and it's pure speculation on behalf of one member of council.
Right, that is noted. Thank you.
I would also like to request that the name of the executive in question be stricken from the record, as it was closed session details.
The motion was open session. The submission motion. Okay. So it's don't worry.
And I just want to say, I think every time people spoke the name of the person we're thinking of, it was always in terms of the facts that have happened, not according to his performance, not according to anything, not whether the motion was deserved or not, just in reference to the motion that has passed and the money that was deposited in his account.
Okay, thank you. Are we okay if we take one more question from student media before we move to a vote, just because we're running a bit low on time, but I still want to be as transparent as possible. Is everyone good? Okay, Hadassah, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to know if there was someone on the previous council on the May vote that was done for the previous councillor, if they know if he, if they allocate like the 1% that they voted for him, was that what they decided was worthy of his performance at the time?
That is confidential information.
Yeah, it was in closed session, so it's confidential, and we can't talk about the like the discussion that took place in that part of the meeting.
But it was only 1%.
Yeah, that was what came out of the May meeting.
And is there
any speculation about why that 1% is there is unsubstantiated.
Can we see any of the minutes of the meeting?
Not from the closed session, no.
So all bonuses are done in closed session?
Yes, yeah, because it's talking about the performance of an employee of the student union. So everything, yeah, it would be, yeah, inappropriate to talk about it in open session. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so is there any opposition to moving to a vote, or do people want to extend time? Okay, so in that case, we will go to a vote. So this is the motion to defer to committee, to policy committee specifically. So if you vote yes, it means you want to defer this motion to policy. If you vote no, it means you do not. And if you abstain, it means you abstain. Diana, how do you vote?
I vote no.
All right. Harrison?
I abstain.
Abstain, thank you. Matthew K?
Yes.
Thank you. Howard?
Yes.
Thank you. Jeremiah?
I'll abstain.
Thank you. Lauren?
No.
Thank you. Arye?
Abstain.
Thank you. Sarah?
I vote no.
Thank you. Margot?
I vote no.
Thank you. Shivani?
No.
Thank you. Amma?
Vote no.
Thank you. Chris K? Not here. Chris D?
Yes.
Thank you. Matthew B?
I abstain.
Thank you. Sean?
Abstain.
Thank you. Paige?
I vote no.
Thank you. Anais? Not here. James?
Sorry, no.
Oh, sorry. All right. James, go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you. Desiree?
No.
Thank you. And Hirsch?
Yes.
Thank you. So by a vote of 5 yes, 9 no, and 5 abstention, the motion fails. So we're back on the main motion. Where did you post it, Desiree? Just trying to find the exact wording. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, all good, thanks. Okay, so we're back on the main speakers list. Harrison, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know I was on the speakers list.
Oh, must have been from before. Sorry, I'm just trying to see what the exact wording is and whether it requires a 2/3.
It would, because it's changing the standing regulation.
Yeah, I'm trying to see exactly where it says that in the in the motion.
I think it's the part where
be it resolved that in addition to the 14.4 regulation.
Okay. Yeah, so that is from the yeah, I'm just checking what the if it has to notwithstand. I believe it has to also have a notwithstanding clause about the standing regulation that says
to policy committee.
Have to go to policy committee. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, there's a standing regulation that this change has to go through policy committee first.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those strange situations because we're dealing with 2 different documents, but since they're both standing regulations, I would say that it would require the notwithstanding clause. I'm just trying to find the exact number that would have to be notwithstood. So yeah, before this goes through, it has to have that particular clause. Just finding the number. But if anyone wants to make a motion to add that with the relevant standing reg, that would be excellent. Hirsch, go ahead.
So I will remind my colleagues who have made many statements about what happened this year and last year, that there are very significant factors which, as you were not, or in actually certain cases you were there, which is what I find more strange, which you don't seem to be considering, and which were actually quite relevant. I would ask that you desist in the future from speculating on motivations and so on, as well as the assertions about it being a violation of the relevant standing regulation. If one looks carefully at it, one would note that based on that interpretation, the original decision was a violation because it was at an SCM, not an RCM. As well, based on the technicalities, we did vote on the bonus, and that's it. It says there is not, like, when you carefully read the technicalities, there is actually no reason to say that what was done at the time is a violation of the standing regs. And I ask that people not speculate about that.
Thank you.
Can I answer directly to that?
It wasn't really a question, so
okay.
Desiree, go ahead. You're next on the speakers list.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say I'd like for it to go. I'd like to call the question, but we still have to non-withstand.
Yeah, I just found the
okay.
The sorry to interrupt you. It is
okay.
Where is it? No, I just found it and then I lost it.
Okay. Well, then I can actually respond to what someone was saying. Well, what a fellow council was saying about what was speculated. I just want to say the policy in question that I'm bringing forward, the 14.4, I literally worked on it for a year. So there's nothing speculative about determining what it means. I know exactly what the spirit of the policy was. But yeah.
Thank you. Margot, go ahead.
Point of personal, whatever.
Yeah, I'd like to motion to add a be it therefore resolved that we not withstand the relevant standing regs.
It's in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Do I need to say? Oh yeah, there we go. Thank you, Caitlin. Sorry, I'm all the way up the group chat. Whatever's in the group chat. Does that work?
Book 13, chapter 1E.
Thank you.
Welcome. Do we have a second to add that notwithstanding clause?
Second it.
Seconded by Hirsch. Do you want to motivate, Margot?
Yeah, I do. When I think we're all aware that there's not exactly a diversity of opinion on policy committee, and I don't think that's a secret. And I don't think the supposed nuances of the situation call for discussion like a mostly one-sided debate in policy. I think that could be hashed out here and we can get it over with. Also, I think because we have a fiduciary duty to students to manage their money responsibly and follow our own policies by the spirit that they were written. This is like a very open and closed question, and legally we are obligated by the Canadian government to follow our own policies and specifically the spirit under which they're written. So because they were written by Desiree, we can be very clear about what those were, and this is a very easy thing to vote on.
Thank you. Okay, so there's no further speakers list. So in that case, we can move to a vote. So if you are voting yes, you are voting in favor of the motion as read by Desiree, including the notwithstanding clause. If you are voting no, you are voting against it. And if you are abstaining, you are abstaining. Diana, go ahead.
I vote yes.
Thank you. Harrison. Harrison? Okay, we'll come back to you. Matthew K.
Awesome.
Okay. Howard.
I will abstain.
Abstain. Jeremiah.
Come back to me.
Okay. Lauren.
I'm in favor of the motion.
Thank you. Arye. Not here. Oh, sorry. What was the answer?
Abstain.
Oh, abstain. Thank you. Sarah.
I vote yes.
Yes. Margot.
I vote yes.
Yes. Shivani.
I vote yes.
Yes. Amma.
I'll vote yes.
Yes. Chris K. Chris? Not here. Chris D.
Come back to me after.
Okay. Matthew B.
I abstain.
All right. Sean.
Abstain.
Abstain. What's next? Paige.
Yes.
Yes. Anais.
Yes.
Yes. James.
Sorry, I'm here. I don't know if my name was called.
Oh, yeah, it was. Harrison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. All right. James, are you there?
Abstain.
What was you said? Abstain.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Desiree.
Yes.
Yes. Hirsch.
As this is overly broad and, in my opinion, bad policy, no.
Okay. And those who said pass, Matthew K.
Abstain.
Abstain. Chris D.
Abstain.
Abstain. And Jeremiah. Jeremiah?
Abstain and noted.
Abstain and noted. Thank you. Okay, so with a vote of 10 yes, 1 no, and 8 abstain, the motion carries. So if there's nothing further on this agenda point, at this point we are on announcements. And Isaiah, since you put this on the agenda, I guess it's yours.
Yeah, just quickly, what is it? Everybody, please make sure to get access to your CSU emails. IT is like, please, it's crucial for these committee meetings because there was a motion originally proposed at I think the first RCM where Facebook is creating mental health issues and like the constant communication, the exec, like, do you want a place to store all the past meeting minutes and all that good stuff or whatnot? It has already been created. And so by getting your counselor email, you have access to the SharePoint, to the Teams, using committee meetings for, like, it allows the CSU to develop a stronger IT infrastructure and keep our documents more private and contained where everybody on council and executive and the students at large, when they get here, will have access to it. That's it.
Thank you. Daniel, go ahead.
I feel bad now talking about something I talked about on Facebook now, since Isaiah was talking about mental health issues. But if you haven't seen the Facebook group where I am asking you all to input your schedule date for the diversity training and for the anti-oppression training, I'm going to put the link here in the chat since we're mostly all here right now. I am just missing a few people, and I did say it in the Facebook group today, so everyone who's tagged there will know who I'm just missing from. So I just want to remind everyone to fill that out, please. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more addition to what Daniel said. The teams can also replace the Facebook group once everyone becomes active, and it has Facebook, it has Teams chats, so we can have the committee chats, and it has a place for a forum where we can post all this relevant information. So the sooner you get all that, the sooner we can just even migrate off Facebook altogether.
Great, thank you. James, go ahead. James? Okay, I'll come back to you.
Yes, hello?
Yes, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so the main motion is over, or where are we in the agenda? Sorry, I've just been made aware of major violations of confidentiality by a member that was present in the former council, and I would like to motion for the CSU to set aside $5,000 to begin an investigation into who
Point of
leaked
order.
closed session
Point of
tapes.
order.
Yeah,
Point
that's
of order.
this-
can't
We're
make
in-
motions.
Whoa, right out of nowhere.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, you can't make motions and announcements, and I think Desiree, would FinCom have to deal with that?
Yeah.
Bombshell.
Yeah.
Remember, we're
Oh, we
cutting
have still,
expenses.
we have legal expenses, and it's a point. Yeah. We
Sorry,
have
that was
we
a
have
bit
a
of
legal expense line.
Sorry, Holly. Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
once again, yeah, sorry, Desiree. All I mean,
Bombshell.
James, if you want to submit the motion, you can always, with 2 other counselors, call for an SCM. But for something like that with like expenses, I would suggest doing a bit of talking to the execs and FinCom first before throwing that out there. But yeah, not to say it's invalid, but just I would suggest doing that first. And also, we can't take motions and announcements. Is there anything else under announcements?
I have a question for Caitlin. I have my CSU email set up. So when these meetings are done, the recorded meetings are going to be sent to us through email, right?
I mean, I can just do a reply all to the message, the call out email, and then everyone who was there will get them. I've also been posting them in the Facebook group since that's what we've been using. Isaiah, did you want to answer that too?
Caitlin and I met, I think it was last weekend or whatnot, and because of the storage on your laptop or whatnot, it takes up a lot of space. So in the Teams and SharePoint storage drive, we're going to have the recordings of councils there stored so that people can access them.
Okay.
Yes, that too. But for non-counselors and executives, media and all that, whoever was on the call out list, I will send them the recording as well. Yeah, is there anything else? Okay, so if not, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, Daniel, seconded by Isaiah. Is there any opposition? All right, folks, meeting adjourned.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, all.
Bye. Good night.